Oh, there we go. We are recording now. Okay, so we're back. So, as I do, I will say it again because I do every time I do a two-parter. Yes, we're in the same clothes because we just continued our conversation. We just stopped the video and now we restarted again. So, all right. So, on the topic of using D&D in a therapeutic sense, even a therapeutic setting, and a teaching setting, which we haven't scratched the surface of yet. We're continuing our conversation with Rin here to my top right on the screen, and Artie there to the bottom in the center. And we're going to just continue our conversation on this subject matter. So, um, we were really in the last hour. We were talking a lot about the social aspect, help you break out of your social circle, or expand your social circle, break out of your shell. How there's a sense of community. I shouldn't say a sense of community. There is a community around role-playing games, around gaming, around Dungeons and Dragons, and it's not that hard to find your way into that community because whether you find the stereotypical nerdy, dorky, geeky kind of game table for D&D or not, everyone's there to play the game, and everyone kind of loves the game. There aren't too many people. There are some who are very casual about it. I'll play. Whatever. I won't play. But a lot of them are very passionate, and they make sure they play every week, every other week, whatever their schedule is, and they'll play in multiple different games in a week or a month because they love the game. So it has a strong following, and people are very passionate about it. So there is a community there, and you will find a home there. You will fit in, regardless of whether you're the highly educated MIT, Harvard, PhD versus the guy who just graduated high school or perhaps failed out of high school. It's okay because you're still going to work together. You're going to fit in, and just the same if you are on the I don't know, neurodivergent spectrum. Is that right? I don't know. I'm not politically correct. Um, but if you have, ADHD or AD, attention deficit, or you're on the autism spectrum, which can be, very varied from extreme to mild or highly functional. Um, it's okay. You will fit in. Even if you have that hyperfixation or you have attention for only 5 minutes and then you get distracted, like it all works out. So there's community. It helps with communication skills on a personal level, also with communicating within a group because you're playing with other people, two, three, four, five, 10 people. Um, as a result of that, you're working together as a team to solve social problems or to problem solve. And sometimes that's in a social setting. Sometimes it can actually be puzzles, actual problems to solve, so to speak. It'll enhance your social skills, written skills, note taking, verbal communication skills. It helps build empathy for the other people who you're playing with, empathy for those in your larger social circle. Kind of helps you to adapt and adjust, roll with the punches, as people say. So, role playing games can really do a lot. And I think even for those of us who don't need it in this context, still benefit from it. We're just not as maybe consciously aware of how impactful it really is in further developing us as social creatures. But nonetheless, that was kind of my intro or recap from the last hour. So, all right, Adi, I want to turn it over to you because I don't want me to hog the mic as I have a very natural tendency to do. I really want it to be about you guys because you guys it's a little more personal topic here for the two of you and have some personal experience in various forms here. So let me turn over to you, Artie, and you come at this in any direction you want or share whatever it is that you want.
So you had mentioned something along the lines of like nerdy, dorky, like group of people, and I feel like maybe in the beginning, in the '70s, where Gygax was in the basement and like everyone was coming together, maybe it was that way, but I feel like somehow like walls are being broken down, and there's like celebrities who play D&D and they're nerdy and dorky, but it's like certain like jocks are playing, so it's definitely like evolving in a way. And I was thinking about when you said that, I was thinking of Matthew Lillard. Do you guys know who Matthew Lillard is?
I
I've
do
met
not.
him. He is so sweet.
Okay, have you seen? Now, this happened recently. Someone was breaking into his house, and he chased the person out of the house. I think it happened a few weeks ago. An intruder was breaking into his house, and he chases the person out, and it's freezing cold outside, and he's outside in his boxers screaming at the guy chasing, and the guy slips on ice, and he's in his boxers, and he's like, "I'm catching up to you, I'm catching up," and I was like, that is like crazy. Like, he's outside like just boxers, and I'm like, this guy's chasing like someone who's trying to break into his house. And I thought I was like, yeah, that's definitely like, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, I was thinking about like actors and
So
job,
yeah,
like
so
maybe there's even, yeah.
I was gonna say that, like, all right, so let me clarify that then, or build on that. So you're right. When the game was first developed back in the early '70s, it was like underground shit, right? Like you played in your basement, no one else knew but those and the people you were playing with. It was like a secret, like truly like a secret club for a lot of people. It was because it was shunned. It wasn't understood. They had the whole cult following thing or accusations where it really wasn't, never was, but people thought that it was
And
it was satanic and stuff, and so and it was predominantly then by the nerdy dorky people, the social outcasts, people who were socially awkward, the introverts, and a handful of introverts found each other, so they came together
mhm.
to be introverted together down in the basement of someone's house, and they played D&D. But you're right. Over the past 50 years, I think really most recently, probably in the past 20, it's become mainstream. Um, it's become sensationalized,
Mhm.
thanks to certain television programs and YouTube channels and things like that. So it's not exclusive to the nerds and the dorks. But then again, it
but
depends how it depends how you define that. Because I think of myself as a nerd or dork or whatever, a little dorky perhaps, nerdy at times. Because there's a difference. A distinction without a difference kind of thing. Difference.
but
Anyway, go ahead.
and and in the sense that like now that we're talking about in schools, maybe that is the case, but like maybe that person is friends with another person, so maybe it's like I'm not entirely sure. I haven't been in school for for 10 years now, so it's like,
Well, I think that. So I guess I guess where I'm going with that is that more and more people are interested in it. Like
yeah.
the not naughty nerdy people, like the normal people, whatever. I say that because like what is normal, and I'm as normal as they come, but yet I'm not at the same time. I'm as dorky as in my own way. Anyway, sorry. Uh, so mainstream people, right? Like you said, celebrities and the everyday average Joe and the MIT graduate, with his PhD and the doctor, and it's all professions, it's all walks of life, it's all education levels. It really
Yeah.
has now transcended society. It really
Hmm.
has, and it appeals to everyone on every facet. Every level of society, educational, social, economic, everything. It applies or appeals to everyone in
You
part.
you you had also mentioned team building, so it's all these different perspectives and like different people that are coming together as like a team to solve a common problem or multiple
And
problems
I,
and
I
break it
think
down.
I think that's just it, right? That's why it appeals to so many because it transcends all of these aspects and it builds upon all of these components. And that applies to everyone every day in their life. It doesn't matter where you are on the whatever spectrum you fall on. I don't give a whatever it is. We all fall on some spectrum, whatever you want to call it, okay? So because we label everything now in 2025, 26, whatever the year it is, we label everything. Everyone has it. Anyway. So it applies to everyone, and because that then becomes a common denominator, right? Because we all have social skills or want to further build our social skills.
Hmm.
We all have innately, we all have empathy, okay? And we want to further build on that. In life, we all have to work as a team, whether it's with me and one other coworker or a group of people. I have to work as a team with my family when we need to plan the family outing or the family vacation, or hey, okay, mom and dad are getting up in age, let's figure out the trust and the will. Like, we work as a team for that. So it's all there, and I think that's why it applies to everyone. And the fact that it's become more mainstream as the gamer in me, like, that's fantastic because it's getting out to more people.
Hmm.
And one of the videos you shared, Artie, which is the one I made a reference to earlier about the school teacher. It was a TED talk of some kind, and I just lost my train of thought. What was I just saying? What was I just saying?
Yeah, talking about team building and reaching out to more people.
Mainstream, reach out to more people. The teacher. I don't know. I lost it. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Artie.
And
I
like,
passed you the mic and then I stole it back without permission.
no, you're good. The only other thought, like, so I wrote it down, and I was thinking back to the Friday games and how Jules was like that was my only like that Jules sitting at the table and talking about his high school D&D group, and he was definitely the youngest one at the table, and he would talk about how his high school group would meet up and they would do a homebrew, and he was DMing at some point in that group as well. And I thought it was like I was thinking back. I'm like, man, if I had like D&D club in high school, like that would have been really cool because I would have been like really exposed to it, and I would really got my foot in the door. Whereas like later on, and I'm like in my 30s, just like getting the books and starting off. So I'm like I envy that time that he has in a way. So he like started off when he was 16, and he's still going, and he's going Fridays, and
Oh,
I think that's
that was a
pretty
thought I
interesting.
had about the teacher in his video. That as D&D players, those who truly love the game, and actually, I was thinking about this the past couple of days. I find myself, I love the game. I find myself as time is passing become more of a student of the game. Like, I'm enjoying like studying the game. Like, I watch and listen to people's videos about game philosophy, game theory, and all these things. How to be a better DM, how to be a better player. Like, what makes it this little facet? How do you handle this? How do you do that? And while as the DM, I'm a I think I'm a really freaking good DM on paper. Like, I have all the mindset. Like, I know how to do this, and I'm getting better at this, and in my mind. Implementation is a different story. But so
Fine.
I'm becoming a more, as time is passing, a more of a student of the game. Like, I really enjoy studying it. So I had a thought. I think I lost it again. School. Oh, so and because of that, because we're also passionate about the game, we very naturally, almost innately, want to teach the game to others.
Hmm.
I find myself all the time trying to recruit people, trying to get people to come. Oh, just come out Friday night, give it a try. Just come see if you like it. If you don't like it, it's okay. I'm not gonna be offended. Come try it. Come try it. Come try it. To the point where, like, man, I wish I could run 3 or 4 more games to get people in, right? And especially, being older and playing in first edition, to get people exposed to that. But to get them into the game, I just don't have the time to do that, or the mental energy to do that much. But so we find ourselves always wanting to share it with others. Why? Well, because it's a great game. We love it, and because with anything we're passionate about, we like to tell people about it. We want to share that experience with them. Like, Caleb on Tuesday nights. He goes to work Wednesday. The entire shop knows what happened Tuesday night because he tells them all about it. Everything that happened. And I remember Artie, when after Friday night, he'd go home and he'd tell his wife everything that happened Friday night,
Yeah,
right? Because
I debriefed her recently
so,
about last night. Yeah.
so we want to share that experience with everyone, with those around us, because we enjoyed it so much. We want you to share that with us, share that experience with us, and that's why we want to teach the game, and that's why I think we see it now starting to get their feet wet, so to speak, in the schools,
Mhm.
because we want to teach it to younger people, so we can get them in, getting enjoy this hobby. Like, get them in while they're young, kind of lure them in. No, but let's get them playing the game. And like you said with Jules, starting in high school. He was 16, I think, 17 when he started on Friday
Mhm.
nights, and that's freaking awesome, you know. Um, and I think that's why some part of the reason why some teachers are using it, but they're also using it kind of parallel to the therapy like we were talking about earlier. They're using it to teach those
Mhm.
social skills, break the kid out of his shell, um, and like Rin was saying earlier, create that structure, right? And some of those things will parallel and transcend from the game room to the classroom. I sent that video to my sister, who's a teacher. I don't know if she'll watch it, but she'll might even say, "Well, why'd you send that to me?" Um, and I sent it to a friend of ours who was a school teacher till she became a mom, but now she has five at home. So
Mhm.
I thought maybe not to say that she's going to play D&D, but maybe she could kind of relate to that or maybe take something away from that video. So for the third time now, Artie, the mic is back to you. I'm going to just mute
Oh,
myself now. Mute myself.
oh, you had mentioned about working together in this group and learning, and it also teaches critical thinking in a way because you're like some like we'll be faced with a problem like what are we going to do every night we can't get any good sleep because we're interrupted by the gnolls. Let's build hammocks up in the tree and sleep like Ewok. And that was like, that's a great idea. And then we were able to do that. And then that was really good. That was a solid. I was like, wow, that was like, who would have thought like sleeping up in the trees and then like just one person awake and hopefully that person has infravision and is not restricted by darkness like myself. And
All right, who, who
the
who was it that came up with that idea? Not to get too far off track, but
I feel like was it it was like I think we're bouncing ideas off of each other, like Chandrell to like Julie to Oz, and we somehow came up with the idea of like, oh yeah, we got enough rope, and like, how hard would it be to like make a hammock, or how much rope do we need for a hammock? And it's like someone looked it up, and it was like 30 feet just to make one hammock, and it's like,
I was
well,
just
we got feet.
I was just wondering if maybe that was the DM's NPC that helped you guys out.
Oh, maybe it was. I see. I'm just like focused. I'm like hyper focused, maybe on something else. Then I do ask a lot of questions, like, "Wait, what happened? Wait, when did that happen? Like, what is our goal here, guys? Like, what what are we doing?" Um, yeah, problem solving, thinking outside the box,
All right, so
and
you said,
also,
but hang on, you said what are our goals? And right now that is a
yeah,
kind of a debate on Tuesday night.
that,
There is
yeah,
some
that,
confusion. So what I'm hearing there is staying in focus as an individual and as a group of people. Stay focused on the task, not get
mhm.
distracted. Because what is happening, just like it did in the last module, they're getting too distracted. They get
I'm hearing like
all
one thing
kinds of
about
info. So
something.
because each player for their character, similar to Sunday, I said, here's a few tidbits. Here's a few pieces of information, something you heard along your travels, a rumor you heard at the tavern, whatever it is. So I told Zorothax, here's your three bullet points, things you've
Yeah,
picked up along the way. Rustin, here's the ones that you heard. Some of them overlap. Some of them are, and some are not overlapping. Some are spot on. Some are way off. Truly rumors. Chandrell, here's yours. Here's yours. Here's yours. And as a result of that, they feel compelled to chase all of these rumors. They've essentially, as a group, and I'm not mocking my group, my game, but as a group, they've lost focus on the task at hand for which they were actually hired to do because they get distracted by all these rumors, chasing all these rumors. And the same thing kind of happened on the last module to a lesser extent, I think, where they're all given like little pieces of information, little rumors, and they were trying to figure out the mystery because that was a mystery one. So they're trying to figure out what the mystery was. They eventually did, like 6 months into the game, they figured it out, um, and they moved forward. So as the DM now, I'm wondering if I'm this group on Tuesday night. if I'm giving them too much of this stuff and it's creating too much of a distraction. So here I am, the DM on paper, right? These are my study of the game. Maybe for this particular group, I can't do that. Maybe I need to be more direct because it's creating confusion. But just the same, that unto itself is a problem for the group to solve, right? Do we regain our focus and focus on the mission at hand for again which we were hired to do, or do we distract ourselves from that and focus on the side quest here, a side quest there, and a side quest there?
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, that's up to them to solve. But what's interesting, and you'll kind of get a laugh at this, Ren. They were hired by the town council, let's say, okay, to hey, there's a problem over there. There's a guy over there who's getting really strong, and he's creating all kinds of undead, and it's making us very uneasy. Can you go take care of that for us? We will pay you. So they said, sure, we can do that. And he says, oh, by the way, there's been a long history of undead over there at the ruins at this place called Bone Hill. The name of the module is called The Secret of Bone Hill.
Oh,
And they are now confused as to, wonder what we should do. Let's go find this druid in the woods.
See, I didn't know there was money involved with Quillen. I didn't know we were getting paid. I thought we were just like,
Well,
oh
I,
yeah,
I think it's pretty nominal. I think he said we'll pay you what we can. We're kind of just a little fishing town,
uh, all
um,
right.
but yeah, but either way, monetary compensation or not, you've been hired, even if it's $0. You've been hired. You've been retained. You agree to do this for this town. And now the party's like getting to the point where it's time to wander around the woods, not knowing what to do.
Yeah, it became like a camping simulator a little bit.
Camping simulator.
It was like camping in the woods RPG. Like,
So they
it was a lot of fun though. It's like
so
we've
yeah, I
been
mean, we're having fun with it. Don't
killing.
get me wrong. Um,
Yeah, it's been
but
fun.
that unto itself has creating. Okay, so we're talking about what does D&D do for you? Well, it helps with problem solving skills, right?
Hmm.
Well, like Adi was saying, they're trying to travel from point A to point B, which was Bone Hill. That's where they were told to go, and they knew that at the onset. They've lost sight of that right now. Um, so they traveled for a day and made camp. They were attacked at night by gnolls. Traveled another day, made camp, attacked by gnolls. Like we're starting to see a pattern, or maybe 3 times really makes a pattern. Third night, gnolls come to the camp. We have a pattern now. So they started to problem solve. Problem solve. Let's sleep up in the trees and not on the ground. So like checkbox, problem solving, team building. They're working as a team to come up with a solution. They have inadvertently created a new problem for themselves of just wandering around aimlessly in like what did I say 720 square miles or something
Yeah,
that the map is all the way. So anyway,
we're gonna check
so
every woods for the druid.
which is a rumor. The druid
Yeah.
may or may not even be on the map.
About to ask where did the druid come from?
It's a
Because
rumor.
it wasn't in the setup.
No, it was in there. It's a rumor. That's all.
Yeah.
So even those who are not easily distracted can become easily distracted, and sometimes they need to be guided back in the right direction. In this case, maybe by the DM, on a personal level, maybe through therapy, right? Kind of guide you back a little bit, or through your own social circle, your friends to call you out on something. They're like, dude, what are you doing? Kind of thing. Kind of guided back, or pull you up when you fell down. But it helps you again with that team building, those social skills, and that empathy. So I really need to shut up. I can't shut up. What's wrong with me?
Well, were you gonna say something, Ren?
No, I dropped
Oh.
something. I'm fidgeting. Speaking of distracting and stuff,
Okay.
ADHD is ADHDing. So
They use it in schools. I'll put a link to that video too, because I did like that video of that school teacher, of his personal experience in using it in schools and how he got some kids to kind of open up. Did you watch that video?
yes,
I
that was
watched.
one of the two that
Okay.
I watched too.
Yeah, so I like that, and he gave a little bit of a graphic example, or one kid who had a very traumatic experience. Doesn't get much more traumatic than that. Um, and how he got the kid to eventually open up. The kid who didn't say a single word in class, fell asleep, didn't show up, didn't do homework, nothing. And through therapeutic D&D in a educational setting, he got the kid to open up because the kid was role playing, and he saw that through role play he can do that stuff. And then he kind of applied those skills he was learning from D&D to the classroom, to real life, because he was able to role play that in his character. So that means the person had the ability to do that, but then it's just applying that in real life, you know. And yes, it parallels, it intersects, it overlays, but application is different than studying, right? Like I said, I'm really good on paper. I'm becoming a good student, but applying that is a different, I don't want to say different skill, but it's more challenging to apply it than it is to study it, right? I can study thermodynamics. It does mean I'm good at putting it into practice. I wasn't good at it in the classroom either, but that's not the point. So, yeah, I took that class 2 times to get a D. Not my thing. Anyway, um,
These
Yeah,
get
close
degree.
enough, Twisty.
yeah, well, D stands for done. So, but I was also done with that aspect of schooling. I changed majors. Anyway, so okay. Once again, I want to try. I want to try because you've referred back to me, Artie. That's why you drew me in here in the
I
conversation.
know.
So okay, so I want to try again. I'm going to mute my mic again. Ready?
I
Okay, back to you guys.
like. I'm not sure what else to go on. Um,
All right,
I definitely.
then let me ask
Yeah.
you this. I'll be a little more direct. Okay, and if I go too far, oh yeah, we'll do this. Right, this is this is the time to do
Yeah.
that. Um, okay, so in light of recent events, how how has or how do you think D&D will be helpful to you, um, for you to process and get through your recent experiences?
Well, we talked about it before as a distraction and as a coping. No, not a, this is a coping mechanism, but it's
No, it is.
I-
Uh,
yeah.
Escapism is technically a coping
Mm-hmm.
skill and everything. It can deviate on a, for it could be both healthy and unhealthy depending on the extreme that you do. But you also can delve into fantasy and possibly, like in the video that Keith will go ahead and link, there was an opportunity to get closure through the role play. I know
Mm,
that because there's ways that you can do things. You can either um, let out your frustrations. You can let out your uh, you can role play something in a way of saving someone. You can do things within the game that don't have real life consequences, but at the same time, you can go more into fantasy. You could be that hero. You could do
yeah.
one of the things that I'm learning a little bit in therapy. Granted, I'm not in there yet because I still have my program to finish. But one of the trauma based therapies that I'm going to be going through is actually going to be going back to my traumatic events and recontextualizing those traumatic events and rewriting what happened to have a more positive effect. Like, obviously, I can't go back in time and undo what's been done, but there is that aspect of writing the ending that you want. For example, say due to your personal events that just happened, you can find a way for closure and just write the ending that your heart needs,
Hmm.
and so your mind can grow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
No, it definitely makes sense.
I was just as a point of clarity, trauma does not necessarily mean physical trauma
Oh no,
or
trauma.
No.
abuse. Let's just
There's
clarify that,
also
okay?
there's
Is trauma
also
can be
no
anything,
quantity.
right?
Yes, and
Um,
trauma can be small. It could be large. There's no definition of what trauma. You don't have to meet a qualification for trauma to affect you.
Mhm.
Trauma is just something that uh, happens to affect your daily life, and it could affect you in positive ways. It can affect you in negative ways. That is something that absolutely.
So, um, let me try building on that a little further, Audie. You recently went out for breakfast
Yes,
with
yes.
someone. So, anything from there that you would like to share from that?
Um,
I'm not saying these like specifics, details of every word of the conversation, but maybe some generalizations of what that was about or what happened, how that was helpful for you.
yep. So I went out to lunch with one of the guys from the Friday group that I used to play with and going to play again with. Pastor Steve. He's a really solid guy. He reached out to me I reached out to him and told him, hey, this is what's happening. I reached out to you when it pretty much happened, and I he was in contact with me, just asking me like how I'm feeling, how I'm doing, and then he invited me out to lunch on this past Saturday. Um, he had an interesting like program that his church was doing. It's like a sort of discipleship, and he shared that along with me. And I'm a Christian, and I go to well, we were going to church regularly, but we're kind of like in between churches right now, my wife and I. And so it was nice to like talk to him and just like talk to him about like what happened. And every time I go through like the events and like kind of like get it out there and like tell people like, oh well, at this time my brother called me asking where my other brother was, and then this happened, and then just like kind of going through like the events of that day, and then just like getting in my car at night and just driving straight up to New York. And I just explained all that to him, and during that time, like we were in a diner, and I didn't think I was like talking that loud, but it turns out like one of the patrons overheard our discussion and conversation, and the patron went up and paid for our lunch, and Uh, he also wrote a note to the waitress to give to me, and let me pull it up. And it was this gentleman. I'm not sure who it was, to be honest. It was just some stranger who was had a similar experience happen to him, and he just said, "Hello, I overheard your conversation, and I too had a brother commit suicide. Just want to say I'm very sorry for your loss. Have a great day." And that was like one of those moments where I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, well, I hope I didn't disturb his meal. And then Steve was laughing about that, and he's like, "No, don't you didn't." And I was like, "I know."
It's
I thought I
a
was
random
joking
act of
around.
kindness,
Yeah.
and from someone who has been through that before. It sounds like, right, and not just someone
Hmm.
who says, "Oh, I understand what you're going through. I understand what you're." No, that sounds like that person. He knows what you're going through, right? Because it sounds
Yeah.
like he's been there before. Um, but tying into our conversation, well, there's that aspect, but there's also that the social, all that. You're sitting down with Pastor Steve for lunch or dinner, whatever it was. That
Hmm.
came about because you met him playing D&D,
Playing D&D.
and it was
Yeah.
very organic. Like he's not your pastor. He's like, hey man, this is kind of what I do, right?
Hmm.
And we play D&D. So hey, you want to talk?
That's that, and it's interesting because you were mentioning helping him fix his car, and then I was like, that was in the back of my mind, like, oh, I met up with Steve for lunch, and we had like a great lunch, and we had this moment where it was like a very surreal, ra- random act of kindness, and it's just yesterday I had a pretty hard day. Like towards the end of the day, I was thinking about my brother and like. Um, I called him like that morning, the day of, and I spoke to him on the phone, and he sounded normal as ever. And that's where it's like he just it. was out of nowhere. Like no signs, nothing. He just whatever he was battling on the inside, he was very good at like hiding it, and he didn't want to burden anyone else like with his problems. He was just fighting that fight on the inside in his mind, and so I talked to him in the morning, and then during lunchtime, I was in my car, I was eating my lunch, and he shoots me a text, and it's like, "Hey man, remember that time we were out in California and it was Christmas time, and you got an Uber and you drove up to where I was at, and the backstory is he was in the Navy. He was stationed in Ventura Beach or Ventura County, and I was in Long Beach. I was on a ship, and I was able to get off the ship and get an Uber, and it was like $100 Uber. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hang out with my brother on Christmas Day, and we're both on the West Coast, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And it was like one of those moments where he like he revisited that memory out of nowhere, and I didn't put two and two together. I was just like, yeah, man. And I was shooting him texts, and I was like, now I'm thinking, I'm like, why did I just call him? Like, yeah, that was a funny memory. Like, and just like instead of sending him messages in the phone, like, yeah, that was so crazy, la la la. Like, yeah, that was so wild. It's like, why didn't I just call him to like say all that and like then ask him like, hey man, you getting ready for your trip tomorrow? Like, are you excited to go back to work? And like, what did you do? What else did you have to do today? Like, I don't know. I'm just
So what I want to say here, I take this 20 seconds for PSA, public service announcement, right? So unfortunately, fortunately, it's bittersweet. Fortunately, unfortunately, Artie's not alone in this experience, right? Because his brother is not the only person who has or will, die by suicide. So that's the very unfortunate thing. The fortunate thing is that Artie's not alone, and there are people he can lean on because they've experienced it before too, or they have the proper training, therapy, to kind of help you work process this and work your way through it. So if you are there, if suicide is on your mind or had entered your mind, then easier said than done, I know, but reach out to someone, please, family, friends, anyone, teacher, counselor. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, there's the anonymous phone lines, for which we'll put here in the show notes. Um, it's anonymous. No one knows. No one knows that you called. They don't keep records of anything, from what I understand, and there to support you and try to help and get you the help that you need. Just the same, if you have someone in your family, however you define that, in your social circle, whatever that is, that you think could be, or has said some things, or given the slightest indication, or you have, true or not, if you think so, do something. Reach out, call someone.
mhm.
And I know that can be hard as to who do I call? Call that hotline, and they can kind of guide you through or point you in the right direction, or kind of help you with that as well.
Yeah.
So
The
that's my 30-second PSA on that.
the U.S. number is 988. It's kind of like 911, but it's 988. Um,
So hang on, is it just 988 or is it three eights?
no, it's just 988.
Okay, so just like 911 for a medical or fire or police emergency, instead of calling 911, you call 988 from your phone. I know they also have an 800 number as well, and I will get that in our show notes here as well. But 988, and whatever other toll-free number we'll put up there. So, um, and again, I know that's kind of I'll say the generic one, right, for anything on that matter. I know Rin nodded it earlier in acknowledgement. I think they have one specifically for LGBTQ. Um, uh, I can't think of the kid's name. It's named after some kid.
The Trevor
Trevor.
Project.
Trevor Project. That's it. Trevor Project. Um, so yeah, so we'll get that number up as well. Maybe a web link for that as well. So um, I guess I mean I'm fortunate that I can't. I haven't been there, so I'm thankful that I haven't. Um, but if you have, or think you could be, you or someone don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. An LGBTQ line can be used for I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, like non-suicidal things, like if you're being bullied, or how do I come out to my family, or that kind of stuff that applies to that community at large. So that's my PSA on that. Okay, okay, but where what I heard in there, aside from Artie's traumatic experience as a result of his brother's struggles, um, is that there is help out there. He found some via D&D. And I'm not putting this all on that because part of our focus here is on, you know, our traumatic experiences, and what we've experienced, what we've gone through, and how to get through them, and also how role playing games can help that, right? How role playing games can be used in therapy, or can be used in a therapeutic sense, even if it's out of therapy, right? Because we're not therapists and we're not doing that. But he gained that conversation. He had that dialogue with Pastor Steve,
Hmm.
and not because he was a pastor, not because he's Artie's pastor, because they play D&D together. And it's coincidence that Artie and Pastor Steve play D&D together, but they do. And how did that happen? They came to the same table to play the game that they both like. So that drew them together, or drew them to a commonality of things. And that's like I was describing earlier in the first hour. You may not know these people, but you have something in common with them. And you have that unto self creates that bond. And over time, if you allow it, that can nurture and grow. As Rin said as well, now she has friends for life. Like a bad piece of gum stuck to their shoe. They're not going to get rid of her, right? So it happened. And using our Sunday night game as an example as well. Roll the clock back a few months. I forget how when it was, but Rin was having a tough time with a few things, and I reached out to the girls on Sunday night. I said, "Hey, Rin's having a tough time. This is what she shared. I'd like to help her. Will you guys help me help her?" And when my wife and I went on vacation, we were in town with Rin. We said, "Hey, let's get together." So we went out and we had dinner, and we said, "Rin, the girls and I want to help you out. We understand you're having this struggle, so we have something for you to help you out." And we presented that to her. I said, "This is from Carrie and I. This is from the girls and I collectively as a group," and it made her cry. Then, almost like she's starting to cry now. But the point is, it's the friendship that was built, and this is a friendship that was just through a screen, because we get together every other week or bi-weekly after bi-weekly after bi-weekly, and it just organically builds over time if you allow it. So be social.
And for those out there who, like Keith was saying, who have or are experiencing those troubling thoughts or ideations of any sort, it's easy to try and bottle them up, but it's so worth it to explore the other options out there. There, it might seem like a solution, but keep in mind it's a very permanent solution for a not it for a temporary set. Uh, I've personally been at that low. I have during my struggles, I have been to that point, and just know that if you ever need anything, feel free to reach out, and your friends, your family, they're all going to be there for you in any way that can. And then, even if you don't have a more traditional family, you can have a family of who you choose. Family could be as simple as a stranger that you met and help gave you a thing of kindness for one day. Just know that there's going to be support out there for you in any way, shape, and form. And it's not the only solution that you have to deal with.
It absolutely is not the only solution. And I understand sometimes it might feel that's the only solution or the best solution, right? Even if there are multiple that might feel like the best solution. But like Rin was saying, and again, I understand enough to know or be able to say easier said than done. I understand that, because it can be overwhelming. And It is a very permanent solution because unlike D&D, there is no resurrection, there is no revivify, there is no raise dead. Okay, that's in our little fantasy game, but in real life, it is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I say that sincerely because everything in life is temporary. It too will come to pass, right? That was some from, was that Star Wars or Star Trek or something? It too will come to pass. Um, Say dorky. So, everything in life is temporary. Everything comes in seasons, in chapters. It too will come to pass, whatever that is. How long that period is, obviously will vary. It can be rough, it can be not so bad, but there's help out there to help you process and get through that difficult time, which is, again, temporary. Um, and that period of time will be that much shorter if you reach out to someone. So, permanent solution to a temporary problem, I don't think is the best solution. But I can certainly understand how some might see that as the best option. But for all of those who are around you and care about you and love you and are concerned about you, that is not the best option. So please, I don't know, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So,
Give it a semicolon, not a period.
Semicolon.
oh, you say that. I've seen stuff like that, right? Shirts
It's it's a
or
sign.
something. Yeah.
It's a universal
You would tell me
sign
about
for
that. You would tell me you want to do a
yes.
tattoo or something.
Oh, I have a tattoo. Mine's a little different. I'm Star Trek is my thing. I have a tattoo that says "Live long and prosper" in Vulcan, and it's my version of a semicolon tattoo.
That's
If
not nerdy
you
at
have,
all.
yes, it's very nerdy. But if any of you are familiar with what a semicolon tattoo, it's not the end. It is a pause, and it's something that you can overcome. So just know that there's it doesn't need to be the end of the book. There's always another chapter that you can write.
Mm-hmm.
True story, as the kids say. Okay, so this has gone by rather quickly too, because we're 45 minutes into this, and we've said hardly anything about D&D in the academic setting, teaching and such. But just the same, um, I'm at a loss. As much as I can talk, I'm at a loss as to how to, excuse me, kind of keep this dialogue going on topic. Um, so if you guys
Mm-hmm.
have anything else you'd like to add, I'm all ears. Otherwise, we can kind of finish the video and we can talk a little bit off camera.
Like the only thing that we didn't touch upon that was brought up in some of the videos that were shared between us, and I'm sure Keith will link in the video, is some of us, we talked a lot about mental health, but we didn't talk about those who have diagnoses like ADHD
Oh yeah.
or autism.
Oh yeah.
I personally have something, I have ADHD myself. I was diagnosed formally a few years ago, and there the teaching aspects of the D&D could be beneficial for multiple reasons. I personally have found that my attention span is a lot easier. I take notes. I'm actually the note taker for our campaign, and it's ways that I can focus, and it teaches me ways to stay in line with my character and everything. And then another thing that they mentioned was also teaching social cues to those who have challenges when it comes to social cues and everything. Like for those on the spectrum, it it's a safe place to put on some training wheels and develop those skills. Your brain is a muscle. It is something that you have to exercise regularly and train it up so it can be nice and strong, and it could be a reflex and everything. So that was just stuff that I wanted to mention.
So I have a specific example on that. So I agree with you, Rin, and some of the videos that we watched kind of give better examples than what we're doing right now about why those who are on the autistic spectrum, because in practice, those who are autistic in one form or another will be socially awkward, right? In one form or another. And I say that as I have family who's on that spectrum. Um, Obviously, autism can be on one end of the spectrum debilitating, other end of the spectrum where highly functional, right? And you would never know that person's autistic, or unless you really knew, kind of thing. But there's always a little bit of social awkwardness, even on those who are on that side of the spectrum. Missing those social cues, right? Things like that. Um, if you watch Big Bang Theory, you see that all the time with Sheldon. While the show or the writers never admitted that the character was autistic, man, he hits many of those check boxes, okay? So many that it's almost undisputable. But I'm not going to be too specific. In one of my games, the party was socializing. They're in the tavern or something, right? And one of the characters is over there at a table talking to an NPC, a non-player character, like just some character in the bar. And one of the players characters went over and was having a conversation with that person about topic XYZ. One of the other players characters, played by someone who's young, went over to that table in character while they're fully involved in conversation, just walks up and says, "Hi." And the non-player character is like, "Hi?" He's like, "Yeah, hi, I'm here for whatever." And like, "Yeah, okay." Like you're fully involved in, like, because he wasn't being polite, wasn't being proper, almost while he said hi, almost a little rude, right? Because he just walked in the middle of a conversation with someone he doesn't know, but someone he knows. So learning little social cues there, right? How to be like social etiquette, as he was young, and I don't know if he would behave like that in real life or not, but at least in character he did, and I think that was a little um, awakening, perhaps, or I want to kind of hope that it was that he kind of took that as a social cue, like you can't just do that, just walk up to people and just say hi, like here I am, like I want in this conversation. Like no, like it's got to either come at a different way, or it's got to be somehow organic, where you kind of make your way into that conversation. So,
I so it's I don't think I've ever told you. Do you remember that night where we had that interesting uh, teenager who was like kind of standing by, just
oh
watching?
yes, I remember.
Oh,
I was thinking about that on our little break here in between videos. Yes.
so he was. I was like, "Hey man, just hang out, sit down, just you can watch." And something, I guess Steve or someone did a magic missile, right? Like, so then the kid was like, and he goes and he like pokes me in the shoulder, and I immediately like snapped to him and been like, "Don't touch me." And like that was, and I'm like, and then he just like kind of was like this, and then and I wanted, like, it was one of those things where it's like you don't touch other people without, like,
Yeah.
it's one of
So
those things. I
I,
don't think
yeah,
I've ever told you about that.
no, you did. But
Okay.
further building on that evening, this is also an individual. Okay, so the story behind it was I'm going to call him a kid because I'm old enough where he's not really a kid, but to me he's a kid. Um, so the kid was there, and I'm getting set up, and it caught his interests. Like I'm getting my map out and things like that. It caught his interest. Oh, what are you playing? Yada yada. I always wanted to play. And I didn't invite him in to play because I just felt a little something, and I didn't have any open seats. Like I had all my players. So I said, well, you can watch if you want to watch. I don't object to an observer. So he pulled up a chair and he watched. And he did pretty good. He just kind of watched. He was a little boisterous. He was like commenting or laughing like out loud, almost not so much interruptive, but if you're trying to be like, it's supposed to be like the quiet observer, you observe, right? And he wasn't quite doing that, but so yeah, I remember you telling me about the magic missile, and he kind of,
Yeah.
I
I
don't
was
say like
like,
he poked you, but he touched you. And
yeah,
again, I'm sure he meant nothing by it, but
I
getting
know.
kind of building into the social awkwardness. But what I remember him doing was he started freaking touching shit. Like he started moving minis around and stuff as we
Mhm.
were saying, oh, he's going to move here, and he started doing it. And no harm, no foul. I didn't say anything. No one really said anything, but like, you know, on a different day, I might be like, dude, like, what are you doing? This is not your game. Stop touching shit. It doesn't belong to you, right?
Hmm.
Um, but we all kind of sensed something was a little off, right? He had a certain social awkwardness, or maybe he was on the autism spectrum. So something was, not quite right, so to speak.
Hmm.
So we kind of let that slide. Um, but yeah, so where we're going, Artie and I are going with this is that social awkwardness, it's there. People are socially awkward, and playing in a social game will help you with that social awkwardness to pick up on those social cues. Now, while and he touch you, it wasn't really a cue for him to not do that, but you saying, "Hey, don't touch me," he just learned, if he didn't previously, maybe he forgot, like you can't just touch people. Like you guys weren't
Yeah.
buddy buddy, you guys weren't friends. Like he could get, like I might be able to get away with that, right? And poke Artie in the shoulder, but not some random person who just showed up who I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that, right? And
Non-consensual touching.
so
So,
that kind of goes back to my tavern example, right? The character just walked up and said hi. That's socially awkward. That's not the way you handle that social situation, you know. And I remember, 'cause I don't want to identify anyone, but one of the other players and I were talking about that later, and he said, "Yeah, I kind of saw that in that player, and I'm kind of seeing that player develop in their social skills, and citing that as one of the examples." So that's all I got. So, um, Rin, I'll give you both the last word. Rin, last word.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Very good. Artie, last word.
um, you matter. Your life is real. Your life has real value, and you're not alone in whatever pain you're feeling. So,
Okay, and on that, we're going to end our video. The three of us will chat a little more, but we're going to end our video here. So, I'll put things in the session notes, the show notes, some of these phone numbers that we talked about, ways to seek out help. And we have no affiliation with anything we're going to put there. We're not suggesting one over another. The point is, there are resources out there. We're going to share a few that we are aware of. Um, and, it's okay to ask for help. Okay, have a good night.